$500. That is the number this entire video is about. $500. The cost of a weekend trip, a new phone upgrade, a few nights out with friends. The kind of money that feels meaningful when you spend it but disappears from memory within a few weeks. Most people have had $500 pass through their hands dozens of times in their life. They spent it on something. They forgot about it. And they moved on. But here is what nobody told them when that money was sitting in their account. That $500 was not actually $500. It was $10,000 in disguise. And the only thing standing between those two numbers was one decision, and enough time to let that decision work. If that sounds impossible, that feeling is exactly what this video is going to dismantle permanently. Meet Zara. She is 29 years old. She works in sales, earns a decent income, enjoys her life, and considers herself reasonably responsible with money. She is not reckless. She saves occasionally. She has a small emergency fund. But Zara has a habit that is quietly costing her more than she will ever realize unless someone explains it to her in the right way. Every few months when a small windfall arrives, a bonus, a tax refund, a good commission month, Zara rewards herself. Nothing crazy, just something nice. A trip, a purchase she had been putting off, something that feels earned and reasonable and deserved. $500 here, $800 there. Small amounts that feel like smart spending decisions in the moment. And every single time she makes one of those decisions, she is not spending $500. She is spending $10,000. She just cannot see it yet. The belief Zara holds is the same belief that almost everyone holds about moderate amounts of money. The belief is that small to medium amounts are for living, not for investing. That investing is something you do with serious money. That $500 is better used on something real and enjoyable today than sitting in some account doing something abstract over some distant future timeline. This belief feels completely reasonable. It feels like balance. It feels like enjoying life now instead of deferring everything to some hypothetical retirement that feels decades away. But this belief is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what $500 actually is when it is invested at the right time. It is not $500. It was never just $500. The true value of money is not what it is today. It is what it becomes over time, and most people never learn to see money that way. To understand how $500 becomes $10,000, you need to understand compounding, not as a concept you have heard about, as a reality that applies directly to every dollar currently sitting in your account. Here is the simplest version imaginable. You invest $500. It earns a return. Now you have slightly more than $500. That slightly larger amount earns the same return. Now you have even more. And that even larger amount earns a return again. The process keeps going, month after month, year after year. The money is not just growing. It is growing on its own previous growth. The returns are compounding on top of each other. And given enough time, this process transforms $500 into something that feels completely disconnected from where it started. Here is what the numbers actually look like for Zara. She is 29. Retirement for her is roughly 35 years away. She invests $500 today and never adds another cent. In year 5, she has around $800. Still small. In year 10, she has around $1,300. In year 15, she has around $2,100. In year 20, she has around $3,400. In year 25, she has around $5,500. In year 30, she has around $8,900. And in year 35, when Zara retires, that original $500 investment has grown to over $10,000, 20 times what she started with. From one decision, made once, never revisited. Now think about what Zara actually bought with that $500 instead. A weekend trip she enjoyed for 3 days and remembers occasionally. A phone she upgraded 2 years later anyway. A few dinners that were nice in the moment and forgotten by the following week. She did not buy those things with $500. She bought them with $10,000. And she will never know the difference, because the $10,000 that did not exist never showed up anywhere to remind her of what it could have been. This is the invisible math of everyday spending decisions. And it is the reason most people arrive at retirement with far less than they expected, not because they were irresponsible, but because nobody ever showed them what their money was actually worth in its true form. Here is where the psychology gets fascinating. There is a concept called temporal discounting. It describes the way human brains automatically reduce the perceived value of future rewards the further away they are in time. A reward today feels completely real. A reward in 35 years feels almost fictional. When Zara holds $500 in her hand and thinks about a weekend trip, the trip feels vivid and real and exciting. When she thinks about $10,000 in a retirement account 35 years from now, that number feels abstract, distant, and somehow not quite real. So the brain chooses the trip, every time, without much of a fight. Because the brain is not comparing $500 to $10,000, it is comparing something that feels real to something that feels theoretical. And real always wins over theoretical in the short term. Understanding temporal discounting does not make you immune to it, but it does give you a tool. The tool is translation. Every time you are about to spend a meaningful amount of money, translate it into its retirement value first. $500 is not $500. It is $10,000 35 years from now. $200 is not $200. It is $4,000. $1,000 is not $1,000. It is $20,000. When you start seeing money in its translated form, the spending decision feels completely different. You are no longer choosing between a trip and an abstract number. You are choosing between a trip and $10,000 of future financial security. That is a much harder trade to make casually. There is a second psychological concept at work here called the denomination effect. Research has shown that people treat larger denominations of money more carefully than smaller ones. People are more reluctant to break a $100 bill than to spend 5 $20 bills even though the amount is identical. The same effect applies to how people think about saving amounts like $500. 500 feels spendable. It does not feel like serious wealth. It does not trigger the protective instincts that $10,000 would trigger. But that is exactly what it is. $500 in your hands today is $10,000 in your retirement account tomorrow. The denomination is different. The value is the same. So what does Zara actually need to do differently? Step 1 is to change the translation. Before any discretionary spending decision above a certain threshold, translate the amount into its retirement value. This single mental habit, applied consistently, will change more financial decisions than almost any other tool. Step 2 is to create an automatic investment habit that captures windfalls before the spending instinct activates. When a bonus arrives, when a tax refund comes in, when a commission exceeds expectations, have a rule. A percentage of every windfall goes directly into investments before it touches the spending account, not because the enjoyment does not matter. Because the future version of Zara matters equally. Step 3 is to start with whatever is available right now. Not the ideal amount. Not when things settle down. Whatever is sitting in the account today that does not have a specific near-term purpose. That money has a job already. Its job is to become something much larger. It just needs to be given the environment to do it. The deeper truth underneath all of this is that the version of retirement Zara gets is being decided right now. Not at 55 when retirement planning feels urgent. Not at 60 when the timeline is short. Right now. At 29, in the small and medium-sized decisions about what to do with money that arrives without a predetermined destination. Every $500 that goes into an investment account instead of a discretionary purchase is not a sacrifice. It is a trade. $500 today for $10,000 at retirement. A weekend trip today for meaningful financial options 3.5 decades from now. Neither choice is wrong. But most people make the spending choice without ever understanding what they are actually trading away. Zara is not going to retire without options because she made bad decisions. She is going to retire without options because she made invisible ones. Decisions that felt small and reasonable and deserved in the moment, but whose true cost only becomes visible decades later when the account balance reveals what compounding could have built if it had been given the raw material to work with. The $500 in your account right now is not $500. It never was. It is $10,000 waiting for a decision. The trip will be forgotten. The phone will be replaced. The dinner will be digested. But the $10,000 at retirement will still be there. Or it will not, depending entirely on one choice you make right now, with an amount of money that feels almost too small to think about carefully. Think about it carefully. It is worth 10 times more than it looks.